Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kamran Khozan from CVMR. Kamran, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you very much. It's nice to be back in Canada.
And you've had a lot of news recently, or there's a lot of rumors about what you're up to. And let's start with the Central African Republic. What's going on there, please?
I recently traveled there for a number of reasons. There is a vacuum created in that country after the Russians left, although some are still there. The country needed an overhaul of their mining and refining industry, which really is in tatters. I met with the president, I met with the Minister of Mines, I met with the Minister of Finance. They were all receptive, very welcoming. And we made a deal that encompasses the entire country, includes about 6 different minerals, primary among them uranium, nickel, coltan, and gold and copper. The memorandum of understanding was signed. I am now in the throes of getting satellite imaging for the country to identify where these minerals are precisely, and then go back and start digging holes and finding out what we can find.
Well, it appears to be quite an investment from your firm. I saw 50 million in satellite imaging in the satellite imaging campaign through an affiliate of yours. Can you tell us a little bit more about this affiliate, please?
Yes, we have a subsidiary called Canadian Advanced Satellite Imaging that does imaging with the help of 8 satellite imaging out of Europe and NASA in the United States. We do not sell those images to the private sector. We only deal with the governments for obvious reasons. Some of them are quite revealing. It is very precise. The technology is such that you can even take a satellite image of a river or a lake and identify what pollutions exist in those lakes. The technology is highly advanced. After we identify where these resources are, we have to go with a drone much closer to the ground and pinpoint the areas we need to identify further. Then start the drilling campaign every 50 meters. We have to drill 3 different lengths of holes, get the cores out, test them, mix them. It takes about a year or 2 and a lot of money. You have to have deep pockets and be very patient to do this. So that's the business we're in. We've been doing this for 40 years and we're quite used to it.
And furthermore, it looked like a real strategic move from the Central African Republic to dilute the Russian influence. Would you like to comment on that? Or would you, or can you?
The Russians were there at the behest of the United Nations. They did not go there on their own. And remember, these countries were colonies, ex-colonies of France, Belgium, and so on. And that legacy still exists. If you want to go back to the history, you have to go to 1884 Berlin Conference, when the Europeans got together and redrew the map of Africa without a single African being present. They renamed the countries after their own whim, and they took whatever they could. Whatever infrastructure they built was for their own use to get the mineral resources out as fast as they could. And in the process, about 1 million Africans were killed in World War I and II on behalf of the colonialists. So this is the history within which we function in Africa. And you have to be very conscious of that when you talk to the officials who come from these countries, who know the history better than anybody else. The intention I had for going to these countries was if I may, I will give you a comparative analysis between China, India, and Africa, two countries and a continent. If you look at China, India, and Africa, you find that roughly speaking, they have exactly the same population, about 1.4 billion people. The advantage China and India have is that diverse regions have united under either they call them states in India or provinces in China. And they have somehow coalesced and they have one vector, one aim, one focus. Whether it's centrally controlled or not, it doesn't matter. It simply means that these regions are moving in the same direction somehow. Africa has 55 different countries, each one going in a diverse route. If Africa could unite, if these countries could come together, then you would have a major competitive force, economic force in the world, adding to US, China, India, and so on. This was initiated actually, forgive me, in January of 2024 at a summit meeting in Saudi Arabia. I was present in that meeting. There were 17 countries, African countries, under the umbrella of this conference, came together and they became the founding fathers of African Minerals Strategy Group, AMSG. And this group is only 1 year old, but they're aiming to develop infrastructure, create free trade among the members, try to replicate a beneficial macroeconomic scale in exploration, responsible mining, even tokenization and creating a mineral exchange among these African countries. If that comes to pass, and if this succeeds, you will find that within the next 10 years, Africa in general would be a place to reckon with. What we have at CVMR done was to take some countries that were willing to participate in this success story unfolding, take them to African countries, and create a marriage between the money, the resources, and the technology that comes from CVMR. That has been the macro strategy that I've been involved in. And somehow, somewhere, we have been successful. The latest one being the Central African Republic.
So all the way from Africa, if we can shift gears and go over to Albania, it's quite a change in topics. You've got CVMR is planning on, well, you've got your first nickel refinery is going to be green, high tech, and job rich. Can you give us an update on what's happening in Albania?
Yes, in Albania, we just about a couple of months ago got the go-ahead from the government. We have secured properties in two places, in Pogradec and in Durrës. Durrës has a huge port facility, which we're taking advantage of. In Albania, you have about 6 nickel mines. 3 of them are actually functioning nickel mines, which we have now secured for ourselves. We have also signed a number of offtake agreements for the products that are going to come out of the refineries we're building. We're building two sets of refineries, one in the north and one in the south. By north, I mean middle of Albania. And we expect these to become functioning within the next 18 months. We have broken ground and we are at it quite sincerely. The clients would be Europeans, North Americans, and Middle East. Very few countries in the Middle East. On the back of this, we are also negotiating with a bunch of companies in Turkey to see if we can link what we're doing in Albania and Turkey together. And I think while we're in that region of the world, our iron mining, refining, and powder manufacturing unit in India will be commissioned by the end of this year, December of this year. So yeah, we are very busy in that region. It's not just Africa.
And of course, CVMR is a global company.
Yes.
We do often interview Michael Hargett about what's happening in the United States. Would you like to comment a little bit about your nickel and cobalt refineries that you have happening in the US?
We have been involved with the United States government, Department of Energy, Defense, Department of Treasury, and a number of national labs quite intimately for the last 40 years. So it's not a new thing that we are getting involved in the US. US is our biggest client. US, we make sure whatever we do around the world, US government is fully aware of our whereabouts. We don't want to step on something that would not be suitable for where we live and what we do. We, about 3 years ago, decided to establish a nickel mining, a nickel refining, I should say, property in Amarillo, Texas. The reason we chose Amarillo was because of the friends and associates we had who lived in that region. So it was influenced by friendship and tugs of that kind. Eventually, logic prevailed. We decided Amarillo was too far from where the shiploads of concentrates arrive. So we have shifted to Corpus Christi, and that's where we intend to build our refinery. Meanwhile, we are negotiating with a number of other entities in 3 different states to build refineries of different kinds, not just nickel, in those estates.
Well, for those of you out there who are interested in finding out more about CVMR, this is a great website to go get information about a wide range of critical minerals. Thank you so much for your time, Kamran. We really appreciate your insight.
Thank you very much.